Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Asad. Jazakallah khair for coming out to Zaytech Academy. I know you live locally in Mountain House, but you commute to UC Berkeley. Alhamdulillah, just to give you a backstory, Brother Asad sent me a message asking me if he could ask me some questions regarding Zaytech Academy, just to get to know me better. And he's a student at UC Berkeley. And I remember my days at college where we had to do these kind of projects. So I understand where he's coming from and I agree to it. So inshallah, let's, but before we start, I want to ask you, how long you been going to UC Berkeley for?
Yes, so I'm currently a junior at Berkeley. It's my first semester at UC Berkeley.
Okay.
And although I'm a junior, basically what I did was I transferred from Las Positas College over here in Livermore. So I did my first 2 years of college over there, got my associates in computer science, and now, alhamdulillah, I'm at Berkeley studying statistics and data science.
Mashallah, mashallah.
Yeah.
Who was your other choice besides UC Berkeley, like when you applied after Las Positas College?
Yeah, so I had Davis, UCLA, I believe Santa Barbara, and San Jose State.
Okay.
And so I just decided Berkeley because of, number one, the location, right in the middle of Silicon Valley, but also close to home. And then their programs for not only data science but statistics was more so allowing me to continue on my my pursuit for like computational sciences.
Okay.
And just learn or develop my experience in programming while also taking on a more so like machine learning approach and understanding the statistics behind what everything's going on nowadays. So accumulation of that, and I think also Berkeley has a very good entrepreneurial spirit going on over there.
Yeah.
So that's like an added bonus, I would say. Definitely trying to like intake all this right now, despite being almost the end of my first semester. But there's like a lot to explore, and alhamdulillah, I think I made the right decision.
Yeah, alhamdulillah,
Yeah.
I think people that went there, I don't think they regret it. I don't know anybody that says they regret it. Maybe they regret some course they took, but they don't regret the whole experience, right?
Yes.
Because even if you do something that may not have been the 100% best choice, you always learn from it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in Silicon Valley, there's something called, they have a tolerance for failure. They actually accept it. But in other places, when you fail at something, you're seen as a failure. But over here in the Bay Area, they actually see that as not a bad thing, which is really great.
Yeah. You just pivot. That's
yeah,
what they
you
call
pivot.
it.
Yeah, once you pivot. Yeah, the problem is that people that fail or make a mistake and they don't learn from it, that's called failure, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to pivot. A lot of the software that was developed, they always pivoted. Like I have this book called The Lean Startup Curve. And a lot of the original ideas where these software companies or these businesses started was actually completely different. And then as they were building it, they realized that's not what people wanted.
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
pivoted. Yeah, which is interesting. Yeah, alhamdulillah. You learn a lot from that. And this guy studied about 1,000 businesses, and he noticed something. There was a curve where they would go up, build, and then they would go down. And then from here, they would have to make a decision like, should we pivot? The ones that didn't pivot would crash and burn and die. The ones that listened to customer feedback, they would go back up again.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it is. So he studied a lot of businesses like that. But, it's something that people have to know, or that's why books are like a shortcut in life, right? It gives you that perception, understanding. People that specialize in studying those businesses, we can read their books and not make those mistakes. So when we see something not working and a project not going in that direction and stuck, you have to be willing to pivot, or try something different. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just double checking because I remembered YouTube used to be something totally different.
Yeah.
It used to be a online dating service.
Oh, was it? Oh, I didn't know that.
YouTube.
Okay.
And same goes for Facebook and whatnot. But I think just the curiosity of developing something and having especially nowadays, having the opportunity to create something out of like your own computer and having those relevant technologies all for free and all open source. It just allows like students and young minds to develop whatever they want. And that's how, that's what hackathons are all about, and that's what I think like Berkeley's all about as well.
Yeah.
In a sort of way.
Yeah,
So,
no, you're right. Yeah, I know Facebook started with college students, and then from there they opened it up to the rest of the world slowly. But it was meant for they say the best software, the best product is you built it for your own purpose.
Yeah.
And then because you're solving your own problem, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you realize other people have the same problem, so you kind of expand from there. So I think that's a good way to, if you want to build something, first solve something that's really difficult that you're struggling with, and then you may realize other people have the same problem, right? There's a guy talking on a Muslim podcast. He built the app called Pillars, which is the prayer app, and his reason to build it was because another app was doing the same thing, but he was concerned about they were selling people's data along those lines, and he built it to combat that, and then it took off from what he was saying on the podcast. But he did it for a different reason. But I think in the back of his mind, even though people say that, oh wow, how'd you build the app? People don't know that he failed many times before that until he finally got it right. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, so it takes time. Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
So basically just wrapping up my first semester. One of the courses I decided to take was Muslims in America, which is taught by Professor Hatem Bazian.
MashaAllah.
And for one of our projects, we are told to go out in the community and go ahead and just interview a Muslim person who's living in America right now, who's living in the current society we are, and ask them about their experiences and relate that to what we are learning right now in the class. So I can give you maybe like a quick background what we've went through, but what we went through in our class. But we basically start off with the notion that world history, as we know of today, is not talking about a very large time gap, a time period, and there's a gap in history which we never really talk about. And that's when we can see the first wave of Muslims coming to the Western world, coming to this country, coming to the 13 colonies, and that's through the slave trade, where African Muslims are coming in forcefully, and then while the Englishmen were trying to bring them here for forced labor, the African Americans were able to also bring with them culture and tradition, and also religion. Yeah,
I heard 25% of them were Muslim from what I heard. What happened was they got cut off from that identity, right? They lost it because they didn't have the education to keep it strong. So sorry to interrupt you, but it was something that I recently learned. But keep going. I'm
forgetting the name of this very famous slave, but he used to be a king in Africa, and then he was abducted and brought over here, and he still kept on practicing Islam. And then he had children, and he had a whole family over here, and then he was even able to meet the current president at the time, and the president, I believe, told his slave owner to free him, and so he became a freed man. And then he was going ahead across the various states and asking for funds and donations so that way he can go back to Africa and meet with his family. But the problem was that his own children were not freed, so they were still working on the plantations and whatnot. And it just showed the break between like familyhood and relations.
Absolutely. There's a saying: if you take the fatherhood, motherhood, all you have is a hood, right? Because you take it out. So and we have these problems even to this day, right? In the inner cities, you just have the hood. People don't have the family bonds as strong as they used to, and it's probably getting worse in some areas, and some areas are strong. So alhamdulillah, we have to the places that are strong, alhamdulillah, we have to maintain that. The places that are weak, we have to build it up, and that requires community education, knowledge. It takes effort to keep those ties of kinship strong, right?
It does, and I think it also is something which you cannot really replace. So like when I found the name Abdul Rahman Ibrahim Sori. So he used to be a prince, and then he was freed 40 years in slavery. But his whole family was also basically living in this new country, but living in these these new states, but only he was able to be freed. And so it just showed like the boundaries of how slave encampments and slave treatment was working, and how familyhood was being abrupted, and how their slaves' lives were just totally changed. And
Yeah.
we could see that today. That documentary which we were watching, there was a movie made for
Yeah.
Prince Abdul Rahman,
Yeah.
and they were able to have a family reunion a couple years ago, where the ancestors of Prince Abdul Rahman were able to all come up and join one each other and learn more about their history.
Yeah, yeah. And slavery,
yeah.
basically, or racism, is just arrogance. That's all it is. People just think they're better than the other person because of skin color. It's just so silly, right? If I like prick your skin, blood. If I prick anybody with colored skin, it's blood.
Yeah.
They're just accidental. Like, we're just born with it. It's not like but the fact that people judge people based on their skin color is kind of bizarre to me. But I think it's something that people are. I think a young kid does not see that. I think they're taught racism or arrogance. I think they're taught that as a young age, and then when they get older, they tend to hold on to that view until they get educated or see that's not how the world, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the God created people, right? He created people in nations and tribes in different varieties and skin colors and to get to know each other, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Shaitan or Satan uses that to get us to disagree and fight and argue over these petty stuff. So yeah, it's been around for a long time. So it's not like we're gonna stop anytime soon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then just like racism still goes on, but also Islamophobia. So inshallah, I'm planning on taking Professor Hassan's other class next semester called Islamophobia. So it's more so going towards the Islamophobia we now see and what we were seeing back in the history of what we're learning right now. It's like a connection to the Muslims in America course, I'd say. But yeah, so like we can go ahead and talk more about the history project I'm here for. I'm here to basically ask you some questions about your experience.
Of course, yeah.
And living here in the United States as a Muslim man in the 21st century, basically.
Yeah. In 2024. It's
almost 25.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, you're right. It's almost decent. Yeah, it's almost 2025. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I guess the first question would just be what is your experience living in our small community of Mountain House?
Sure.
And also specifically like the Muslim community within Mountain House.
Yeah. So just to kind of get things, I'll go back a little bit further than that. How I ended up at Mountain House. So I came to America during the Soviet War between Afghanistan and different ideologies. Obviously, right? When the ideologies clash or people don't get along, they create this strife. And then people use that against each other. So anyhow, came here when I was 5 years old. Started kindergarten right away, and from there I was in San Jose. That's where we lived. And then from San Jose, I moved to Dublin, and then Tracy, and then to Dublin, and then Mountain House in 2013. And Mountain House has grown a lot since then. Its population has increased. There's more houses. They're developing a lot more. So from what I know in the statistics of Mountain House, for example, in America, I think I heard it's 1% Muslim, right? Out of 350 million people here, it's 1% Muslim. Is that right? Can you look it up? Yeah. I think it's 1%. So from what I know in Mountain House, I could be wrong, but I want to try to...
1.34%.
1.34%, yeah. So it's... and what's the population of America? Is it 330 million or 350 million?
Population of America. 334 million.
Okay, 334 million. Okay. So, and we have about 2,000 something mosques in America, or I forgot the number, but it's around that number. Okay, so Mountain House, from what I was told, what I'm hearing, it's about close to 10% Muslim. So the percentage is much higher if you compare it to the overall America population. But yeah, it is a thriving community here. It's very, very, a lot of different religions, different diversities here. One person described Mountain House as the melting pot of different people coming together, and I see that when I drive around. All kinds of people, alhamdulillah. It's a very good community. And I was talking to the master architect, the visionary behind building Mountain House, and he mentioned to me that when he was designing it from the very get-go, he studied other cities, and he realized that when a population gets above about 50,000, crime starts starts to get bigger. So he purposely designed it with that vision in mind to get the population around 50,000. But from the pace of what I'm seeing, I think it's going to go above that. So it looks like it's going to go to 65,000 because there's a housing shortage, right?
Yes.
So we have to fulfill the housing shortage. So alhamdulillah, we have to do what we have to do. So, but now that was a study from 25 years ago or so. But alhamdulillah, so Mountain House, I've been living here. I enjoy it. I live in the Bethany village. There's 4 villages, right, currently. And I heard, or I'm seeing 4 more villages being built. So it's going to be an additional 5,000 homes coming in the next, I would say, probably 5-10 years or so. So Mountain House, I enjoy it. It have unique trails. It's a very interesting community because it started from scratch. It's new, so it doesn't have like a whole lot of history behind it, like Stockton or Modesto or San Jose or Sacramento or Berkeley. Berkeley has a lot of history, right? A lot of history. So we're actually building the history here as we speak. So depending on how well we do, we can be a good example for the rest of California or even the rest of America, how we build it out here. So one thing I would love to do, or I've been trying to do, is trying to be welcoming, accommodating to all peoples. You know, like we have people of different faiths come here. Just anybody. I don't even ask their faith. They ask me if they can come and use this facility for, has to be meaningful, right? It can't just be for anything.
Yeah.
They use it for networking and all that. So so we want to make sure that we welcome them. The mayor was here. He gave a talk. The Lammersville School District board came here as well. They give a talk on their purpose, what they want to do. So we want to build that up and be very understanding, because one thing I noticed when I was growing up was the Muslim community was very closed door. That's what I experienced. I don't want to talk on behalf of all Muslims, just what I experienced. And then when a calamity or tribulation happened, they would get the backlash, right? People would, use them as the problem, people that caused the problem, right? Because they didn't know who they were. So I think if you are pragmatic rather than passive, and then when that calamity or tribulation happens, they will stand by your side, right? So you're forward thinking. So it's like chess, right? You have to think 10 moves ahead. So that's the way my mind works. So whatever we're doing right now is we're trying to become good neighbors, talk with the community, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as you know, He created us and He invited us, but no, we don't have to. He didn't make Islam compulsory on everyone, right? It's invitation. It's called da'wah. If they accept, they accept. If they don't, that's why it's called da'wah, right? The ability to not accept it. Because some people, Christianity suffices them. That's what they're looking for, and it helps them get day to day. And if it works for them, it works for them, alhamdulillah. And then some people, maybe they need something beyond Christianity. They want to know what is Islam. Maybe something's bothering them about Isa alayhi salam or Jesus. Maybe he's not God, maybe he is, maybe I'm not sure. And then Islam suffices them, and they come to Islam. And it's like the next step, right? It's not like they left Christianity. They just continued to the next path, right? So people think that they changed, they completely like abandoned Christianity. No, you're just accepting the next messenger that came after him. That's all it is. And it's a very like a progression. But I can see why it's so hard to make that move, because it outwardly appears very different, right? From the outward lens, from the media, from news channels, like, oh, this is like very different. You have to wear this. You have to change your name. You have to do all these things. You don't have to change your name.
No,
There's a Muslim cowboy from, I forgot which state he's in, but he's a Muslim cowboy. You can be a Muslim cowboy.
No,
right?
I know. I know people in Berkeley who converted, and At first, when I did not like meet them in person, but I saw their name on like a WhatsApp group chat, I was like, wait.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's
they're wonderful people.
yeah, there's a Samoan that gave the adhan, and he gave it in a beautiful melodious voice,
Yeah.
right? And it was so beautiful, right? I mean, that's what Islam is. It takes the best of these things that we
Yeah.
have done and embraces it, and it takes the worst and just says, "Hey, this is not good for you." And basically, when it's not good for you, the Creator of the heavens and earth is trying to say, "Hey, it's not going to help you," right? It's like. It's like eating junk food. It's like, hey, you can eat it, but eventually it's going to hurt you, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's just telling us, hey, don't do these things because, you'll get away with maybe, but eventually it's not good for you. It's harmful to you. And he's just giving us good advice. Because like a car instruction manual, right? And you open it and it tells you like the guy that made the car or the manufacturer, we have that instruction manual, which we call the Holy Quran, right? And it tells us, here's what happened in the past. Here's don't do this again. Don't repeat the bad things that people did. Here's what Pharaoh did. He got so arrogant. He claimed to be God. Don't do that. That's
Yeah.
very bad. And he was the worst person in humanity, according to my understanding and how I read the verses. So because he was doing genocide to the
Yeah.
babies.
Exactly.
Like how evil can you get to kill babies? That's like really bizarre, That's like arrogance upon
Yeah.
arrogance.
It's bizarre, but we still see it happening today.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's why the Musa alayhi salam, the story of Moses and Pharaoh, is mentioned so many times in the Holy Quran,
Yeah.
and it's because maybe the Creator of the heavens and the earth is telling us something like this stuff can happen again, and it happened, and Moses had to did his best to help his people, right?
Yes.
That's why the Quran is constantly reminding Bani Israel, oh children of Israel, remember all these favors I did for you? I give all these prophets, I give you
Yes.
kings, and I give you blessings. Come back to me. That's all he's saying. He's just trying to tell them to come back to him,
Yes.
right? He's just saying, remember this, remember that. Don't do that. Remember you did this. Remember you killed this. Remember you did that. But come back to me, right? He's calling him back to himself. So what I see, the problems, is I think the older generation, I think the youth, I think they will not follow the path of what's happening out in Palestine and
Yes. In
over
Sudan
there.
and in all over.
Yeah,
yes,
I think
yeah.
the youth will see that these are wrongs being committed. That they're being told something, the wrong narrative. Eventually, they'll come and understand that. I think the older generation. I'm not saying all of them, by the way, because whenever I say people, it's just like, how people say Americans are bad. It's not Americans are bad. Maybe a few people or somebody
Yeah.
some part of the government did something wrong, right? But in general, the majority of people are good. If you watch these YouTubers, they travel the world, they tell you that most people are good.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
But when you watch the media, it's like it makes it appear most people are bad.
It's
so
all,
bizarre, yeah.
propaganda. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one guy, he traveled the whole world without flying. He did it by like taking land and
Yeah.
sea and all that. And his experiences, they're all good. Most people are good. There's a guy that got depressed because he was watching the news too much. His doctor couldn't figure out why he was always depressed, sad. And then he realized that he was watching too much media, and the media was always showing bad stuff. So he came up with an idea. He made his own show. It's called The Good News. And
Yeah.
That lifted
During
him out
COVID,
of,
yeah.
That lifted him out of his depression.
Yes.
Because if you are always seeing bad in the world, you're gonna feel depressed, sad. But if you look at the positive stuff that's happening too, there's a lot of good happening in the world too. Because humans by nature are good. Their fitra is inclined towards goodness. And the reason I think people go bad, honestly, my view, is worldview. If you have the wrong worldview, if you don't know how the world works, and you're not patient, and you see something happen, and then you react right away without double checking the facts, or trying to verify the information, or trying to say maybe I could be wrong, maybe your view is also right, maybe there's a different way I don't know about that. Like there's one scholar came here, and he was telling me a story where he mentioned a hadith. And somebody in the audience said, I never heard that hadith before. He said, well, do you know all the hadiths? Just because you never heard it doesn't mean it's not true. So we have this unfortunate that people, they think, the way it actually works. The more you know, the more you realize, the less you know. What's happening is people that don't know think they know, and that's called compounded ignorance,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
And those are the people that cause problems because they're ignorant, and they're causing havoc because of their ignorance. And on top of that, let me give you one example. There's a guy that hated Hitler, right? Really with passion.
Yeah.
But somehow he wanted to see him speak. When he saw him speak, he started to like him, and he wanted to die for him. And you can see how evil hearts can actually persuade people to change their outlook, right? He came from hating him to dying for him. Because the way Hitler spoke, he was very charismatic, right?
Yes, yes.
The way he was like, the way he talked.
The German language is
yeah. So he was an audience listening, and he changed his view. So you can see how one person can take a whole bunch of people and make them believe something totally incorrect, and take them to the wrong course, the wrong path, right?
Yeah.
So this can happen to anybody. People can get brainwashed. That's why cults, eventually they kind of die out, but in the beginning they really take people with them, and they later on they come to their senses, like, whoa, what the heck just happened? I got taken for a ride. Yeah. So
and but I just wanted to ask more so about our community as well. So everything which is going on in the world, I think you explained very well right now about how current society, there's a very negative feeling towards what's going on in the world and what people are like in the world, and some people are motivated to do something, but then once they go up and attend something or meet someone, then their whole views change, and it's more so we never really know what our journey's looking like, right?
Yeah.
But if we were to also just consider this in a point of view of someone, for example, you specifically, how would you say that people who are volunteering in Mountain House, and how would you say that the people who are within Mountain House specifically, what are their civic duties looking like, and what does the volunteerism look like within our community right now?
Alhamdulillah, yeah. Mountain House has a lot of volunteers. From what I've seen, you just give them a call, they'll rush here to help out. You ask them for a favor, they're willing to help out. We have a Saturday Fajr. Saturday, just for those that don't know what Fajr is our morning prayer. We have every Saturday, we have a potluck. Where we don't really tell people to bring food, but they bring it, So it's very interesting. We just say, hey, if you want to bring it, you can. You don't have to. But they bring chai. Chai is like almost like coffee and milk. It's like a milk tea. So they bring it. They bring they bring their own dishes, and then just they're always there to help you. Like we have one brother. He's always helping us with the prayer calendar, sending us a new one. Because it takes a lot of time just to put the monthly prayer calendar, trying to make sure the dates are all correct. And he sends it over every month, and alhamdulillah, there's people behind the scenes that work here, and they're gems. There's people, there's extroverts and introverts, right? The introverts are the volunteer. I don't want to say they're the volunteers, but they're doing a lot of behind the scene work, and unfortunately, only Allah knows who they are, right? That's the problem. So if people knew who they were, they would be like, hey, they just give them up,
Yeah.
They would just appreciate them, but they're here. They're working behind the scenes, and they're doing amazing work, and even in other cities too. So, alhamdulillah, I'm very appreciative to those to the volunteers and people in general that go out of their way to help out. There's other nonprofits in Mountain House too that do sports and a variety of different things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. I think there's a lot going on in here.
Yeah, and how would you say that the the volunteerism and also the activities going on within our community is different from those who are Muslim and those who are not Muslim?
Yeah, I think Muslims traditionally didn't, back before we came to America, we didn't have basketball. I don't think we played soccer, do we? We did. We did cricket, right? I think
what?
No, in general, because Muslims, we're embracing the sports of America, right? Football and basketball, right? Yeah.
There's cricket in South Asia is very popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, soccer. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about soccer either because the only one I've kind of paid attention to was basketball. But I played a lot of basketball when I was in high school, so I know we really picked up on that sport. For cricket, I'm not sure if the non-Muslims play cricket or is it? Do they? Maybe they're
I'm sure
somewhat
there's
involved.
like ancient sports which are
Yeah,
played
yeah,
other than what we know right now, like bow,
yeah.
playing with bows and
Yeah. So I think what's happening.
similar
So
sports. Yeah.
the way I would describe it is this way. So some of the sports that Americans used to do, Muslims are reviving it, like archery.
Yes,
We actually
archery.
do archery here because archery teaches kids how to hit the target bullseye. Right? It's basically, can you see the word sin from what I read and learned means to miss the mark. So when you do something wrong, you make a mistake. That's why we're always asking for forgiveness because we're always falling short, right? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked forgiveness, like I think I heard 70, 80 times a day, right?
Yeah.
Right? And who are we? We're probably always missing the mark. I probably missed the mark here talking to you like maybe, like 100 times already, right? So I should be
Yeah,
asking
yeah.
forgiveness like 100 times just in the last 30 minutes. So archery teaches you how to hit the bullseye. So meaning to like try to hit the target, try to be careful with your words, your actions, so we don't miss the mark, right? That's archery. So we're trying to revive that. I asked the guy that teaches archery. He said he's been trying to approach the public schools to do it, and they're not interested in it, right? So we have something to offer them, and they have, of course, flag football, which there's Muslims doing that as well. Soccer, Muslims are doing that as well. Basketball, Muslims are doing that as well, right?
For those who don't know, like we have
yeah.
all these various sports and programs going on within our local community where kids from like high school and middle school years can go ahead and play within our like local middle school stadium, like basketball courts, and basically they made their own like intercollegiate teams, but also teams which are competitive. So I think for sports we have a friend of mine who plays soccer over here, and then he goes out and plays competitively across the whole Bay Area, and we have our own team over here in Mountain House.
Alhamdulillah, yeah. No, sports is very powerful. One way I can recognize really good talent is people if they play sports consistently, because anybody's consistent in anything, they're usually good at other things as well. I know somebody was he was, how you dribble the basketball? This guy was just hitting the soccer ball in his foot, like he would just keep hitting it up and up. And I was like, man, this guy's going to be good at anything he puts his mind to, because that's hard to do, just to do that consistently.
Yeah.
So sports is really great, because I myself was an avid sports person. I remember one day I would go to the gym so much. One day I went, because I didn't even check what day it was, by the way, and it was closed. I was like, why is the gym closed? And I looked, it was Christmas. I was like, why are they closed? Right? Because I was so consistent. I never missed a day. Somehow that day landed on a Christmas. I think Christmas lands on a Wednesday, right? Or Thursday? I forgot.
Depends on the year, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the 25th. Okay. So it's anyhow. I went there because because we're Muslim, so we don't. Of course, we know it's coming. We know the day and everything, but I didn't think they were closed, the gym. So I went there. I was like, why are you guys closed? It's just Christmas. It's like. But anyhow, that's how much I was into sports in my youth. I was always like, I would ride my bike 5 miles to the gym, and then play basketball, and then work out, and then ride my bicycle 5 miles back. And I did that for a long time. But that's what kind of, it was good because I enjoyed doing it. The bike ride was fun. I would occasionally get chased by a dog here and there, but it was still great. And hit a pothole here and there or a bump, but it was fun. It was good times, And you can see the hand of God protecting you, because later on I realized, I could have gotten so many different things that could have went wrong, because God's protecting us. There's angels protecting us.
Yes.
I mean, how could if you just think about it, okay, 10 miles a day for whatever, I don't know, 10 whatever, so many years, right? And you're safe. You go and you come back. You're safe. You're going through all this traffic and going through cars and trying to get there.
Yeah.
And some of these, there's a God, that's that if people don't believe in God, that should be like a testimony right there.
Exactly.
When your time is up, your time is up. But the fact that I was able to do that for that long, with all that traffic, all that stuff, alhamdulillah. No, there's a creator of that, and he has angels protecting us and watching over us, and because I know. Let me tell you the story. I know we're going off sidetrack. when I was in high school, I was working at NCA Computers.
Okay.
Yeah. My friend got me the job there. It was a computer store. And this guy came up to me and he bought a computer for me, and he liked the customer service I gave him. He said, "Hey, whenever you go to come to Costco, just it's on me. I'll check your eyes out for you." I said, "Check my eyes out? What is he talking about? I have great eyes, you know."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know why he said that to me. It was so weird. He
I
just
never heard that. Yeah.
And he just came up to me. He said, "If you come to Costco, I'll check your eyes out for free." I don't know why he said that. So anyhow, I'm like, I just kind of like say, okay, it doesn't make sense what he's talking about. So one day I went to Costco, and then I was walking by. He saw me. He said, hey, you. I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
He's, remember I give you that promise I'll check your eyes out for free for you? I'm like, I already need my eyes checked. My eyes are good.
Mm-hmm.
He said, let me just check it out for you. I'll give you a free eye exam. I said, okay, fine. I was like, I got time to kill anyways, because I had an hour lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there, and then he checked my eyes out. And then at that time, I think contacts just came out. Maybe they were out a couple of years. And he gave me these things. He said, put in your eyes. And I said, okay. And I put in my eyes. And he said, go look outside. And I said, what is this? And I could not believe it. And I was like, this is how people see? Because before that, I couldn't see. I didn't even know I couldn't see. Mm-hmm. So I was going to the gym for all those years, and I was like, I couldn't even barely see. I did not see. This is the thing. Like if that's how like it reminds me of our heart. Of our spiritual heart. Because we think our hearts are good. But it may not be good, right? My eyes were so bad that I did not even know it was that bad until I saw how people see. Because I thought I was always complaining to my friends at school. My math teacher's handwriting sucks. I keep telling them I can't read her handwriting. She doesn't know how to write. And so they would help me, tell me what she's writing. I'm like, can you tell me what she's writing? Next day I go to school. I'm like, dude, she's got really good handwriting. It was my eyes, right? So
Wow,
so that tells you we can be the problem, but we don't know it, right? So I was like, yes. It was me. It was my eyes that was bad. All those years in math class that I kept having asked my friends. I'm like, I can't read her handwriting. It was my eyes that could not see it. Mm-hmm. So after that, my math score went up. I got better at math, but that was just an eye opener, And then I went to the gym, and I was like, oh, that's what I look like. I was like, I couldn't even, because I was literally, I didn't even know my eyes were that bad. So yeah, that's why if you try to tell people that, especially what's happening in the state of the world, hey, you guys are not doing the right thing, mm-hmm. You guys are causing problems, because maybe their hearts are dead, and they don't know they're dead, right? I did not know until that guy gave me that glasses, right? Imagine somebody that's causing genocide or problems, and you say, hey, I'm going to give you something, and just put it in your heart for 2 minutes, and he puts it's like, oh, whoa, what did I just do? I've been doing all this nonsense. I've been killing people, and I shouldn't be doing that, right? Because they're spiritually, they're not alive, right? The Quran mentions it's not the eyes that go blind, the heart that goes blind. Yeah. But in my case, it was my eyes that was blind, right? Yeah. But I'm not saying the Quran is wrong. I'm just saying if I was physically not able to see,
the interpretation,
right? So
right
so imagine if it goes the other way and we don't know it. Right, and until some sheikh, some ulama, some scholar, some righteous person, somebody with high iman, is able to tell you hey, what you're doing is not right, and here's why, here's the reason, here's the science behind it, and you start purification of your heart, and then you realize oh, astaghfirullah, I've been doing the wrong things, right? And this happened to many people in the past, right? Khalid bin Walid, right? He's one example. Mm-hmm. He was fighting against the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And he finally became Muslim, right? Yeah. Because he did not know he was blind like me, right? Yeah. Right? He probably thought he was on the right side until he saw things as it was, and right? And he became Muslim. So sometimes you have to be patient with people, right? Imagine if that guy never told that to me. To me, that's like dawah, right? That was a physical. That was a.
It changed your life.
Yeah,
completely.
It changed my whole life. It changed I started wearing glasses, and it was my whole reality world changed after that. I was able to see things. I was able to understand things. Whenever I would hit a pothole, I was like, I would get mad at the pothole, but it was me because I couldn't see it, you know?
Yeah.
So that, you know, if people are watching this video, if you want to know the state of the world, you know, we're blinded, right? We may not know that some people that are causing these atrocities or crimes, you know, it's like, how do you tell them, you know, like, will they come to you and have you give them an eye exam, you know, like I did, right? Because I thought I was like I'm like in high school, my eyes, how could it go bad, you know? That's how I was thinking at the time, but that was just a metaphor just to kind of explain to the audience that are watching online, you know, that we have blind spots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But what do you think is the civic engagement for both Muslims and non-Muslims in our community, and how would you just like compare that to the average community you've seen in America throughout your years?
Yeah, so
Just to wrap up everything from this first question.
so just for the way I look at non-Muslims, I see them through a lens of how they see the media, right? So when I see them, I already know they have a lot of misunderstanding of Islam, right? Because I can see the media is constantly giving weird news, bad news, negative news, that we're doing this and that, you know? So already I look at it from that angle. So I don't talk about deen or faith. I just talk about food, family, right? I just talk about like stuff that we have in common. I just talk about whatever they do. I try to talk about that. And then if they ask me, I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up like, you know, like we believe in this, I believe in that. But for the most part, civic engagement, just be a good person. Like one of the scholars mentioned when I was talking to him, he said, just be a good person. And that will resonate the faith itself. Like Muhammad Ali, he was a good person, right? He was loved by all faiths, right? And that's what all Muslims should aspire to be. They should not just be liked by Muslims. Unfortunately, a lot of Muslims like them, right? And the other people don't like them. They try to be like, have the Christians like you, the Jews like you, the Hindus like you, all the faiths to like you, right? And that's the goal. That should be everybody's goal. Have everybody like you, because I'm not saying that's possible. That's going to be a very hard, tall order, because you have to stand for justice, and you have to stand for truth, and you have to stand for morality. So you don't want to bend and say, okay, I'm going to be this and that just to be liked by the people, right? Muhammad Ali, he was able to do it with charisma, right? He was able to do it with in a way where he did not do it to go against his standards, right? He kept his position high, but at the same time, you know, if you go on YouTube and watch his videos, once in a while his feed will come up, and I look at the comments, and I never hear a bad comment about him. Never, right? I'm like trying to find a bad comment, and like somebody's got to hate him. Like nobody. It's like everybody's saying good stuff. The greatest ever, the greatest, the greatest, the greatest, the greatest. He's so good, man. He's so amazing. You know, the best person. Everybody. I've yet to see a hateful comment about him. You know, if we become like Muhammad Ali, if we aspire to be something like that, of course we should emulate the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Yes. But I'm just saying though, like, you know, that he was loved, respected by all people, and if Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was here right now, he would be respected and loved by all peoples, right? Because that's what the Muslim should be like, right? A Muslim, a mu'min and muhsin, right? Muslim, you know, you're born it, right? And then you become a mu'min because now you're acting on it. And you become muhsin, which is where you make things beautiful, I think. If you make things beautiful, you make things, you're pleasant to talk to, you're easy to talk to, you're easygoing, you don't constantly get angry, right? You're right. There's a hadith where it says a strong person is not the one that lifts the heavy object, but the one that controls his anger. And when you think about that, you know, that road rage that happens, right? Does it happen in Berkeley?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. So if you think about the hadith, the guy that has a road rage, he's weak.
Yes.
That guy that's sitting behind the car and just saying like, okay, what did I just do? I just barely honked and you're mad at me. He's strong. That guy is yelling is weak, but he thinks he's strong. He's actually weak. So now we know reality. That's reality, right? So people that are doing this genocide and thinking they have these heavy heavy machinery and guns and dropping all this stuff, they're actually weak because they're weak, right? The powerful people are the ones that are controlling themselves and saying, you know, we're going to go back to God. To Him we return, right?
Yes.
So those are the strong people, but the media is making it appear like it's the other way around, right? So yeah, we have to control our anger for sure. But I know there's time and place. The Prophet Muhammad used to have. It is said in the books that he had a vein right here. He would get angry, but for the sake of God, though, not for the sake of himself,
Mm-hmm.
right? He wouldn't get angry because somebody hurt his feelings, right? He was always like brushing it off. But if it was for the sake of God, he would get angry, right?
Yes.
But he was very a thoughtful person, right? Like sometimes I have conversation with people. They'll like talk to me for like 2 hours, and then you learn like almost nothing from them sometimes, right? And you have people that just speak like 3 sentences, and like it's like that's what the prophet spoke. He just said a few words, and it's like means so much, right? It's just so deep. His messages, his hadith, you reflect upon it. It's so powerful. I know many people that just that anger hadith about don't get angry, don't get angry, don't get angry. That just changed their whole state of mind. They're like, that's me, right? They saw themselves in that hadith. They're like, I got to stop getting angry. Angry is a big problem in the community. Just in general amongst people, Muslims, non-Muslims, anybody, they get angry too easily. Small things just bother them and they get angry. And this creates like, hatred amongst people. Just don't get angry. Just control yourself to the best of you can. I know we all fall short. We get angry for various reasons, but we should try to not get angry as much as we can.
Yeah. And I wanted to connect this to, I guess, more so about the problem which a lot of Muslims are facing in America ever since they came here, and especially after like post 9/11, which is Islamophobia. So first of all, I think you already answered this question, but like you're born and raised, born in Afghanistan, and then came to California, lived your life over here in the NorCal Bay Area region. But then going on to that, what do you think is like the demographic of people who are coming to like Mountain House or like Zaytech and then personally, like what do you think are those? Who do you think are those who are Muslims, and where are they coming from? Specifically from Zaytech.
So I would say in Mountain House, there was already a very strong Muslim community here. So Zaytech didn't like bring anybody here. But I think what's going to happen is that because Mountain House has a need for Muslim services, such as Islamic school, it will attract people that are looking for a school, right? Because this is mostly school focused. Of course, we have the musalla, the prayer space, because that's our faith. That's the hub. So the school and the hub, they work together. So there's a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ walked in to a place of gathering. There was 2 circles, and one circle was doing dhikr, and the other one was studying, and he sat with the people that were studying, right? So we want to encourage knowledge, education, because I think the root problem of all the issues that we're having right now is just lack of education. When you don't keep up with understanding, I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not a scholar, but just growing up, just seeing how people react and behave, and I thought it was a worldview problem, right? Because their worldview was distorted. A lot of the problems in the world is because they have a misunderstanding of the world, right? Like, but if you have the correct understanding of the world, you'll behave better. You'll reason better. Your rationale will be better. You're more focused on you have more God consciousness, but at the same time, you can still be Muslim and you can still know the books and all that, but you may not. Because the Quran mentions that even by the book, the Quran, he leads many people astray by it too. Somebody can read the Quran and go astray by it, right? So God knows the state of the hearts, right? Are you reading with good intention? Are you reading it with a preconceived notion, right? Are you coming to the Quran and thinking, okay, this is not the right book, and it's going to take you that way? But if you come to it with an open mind, you'll see amazing things in there, right? So in general, I think what Zaytech Academy is bringing to the Muslim community is a hub for education, for Islamic school, and one thing we do, which is different from other Islamic schools, as far as I know, is we have both hifz, Quran memorization, and academics. So we were able to, with the help of, alhamdulillah, a very, very good principal, able to put the two together, put the curriculum together, make it work that way. Because I think, I don't know a single person that said, I memorized the Quran and now I regret it. There's nobody like that. So why not do it, right? So why not have the kids memorize as much Quran as they can? 1 juz, 2 juz, maybe.
And it's much more easier to do when you're at a young age.
Absolutely, yeah. I just heard recently one student memorized 5 pages in 1 day. So it's very possible to do that. But of course, that was because they were trying to win a medallion. It was like a day away. So you can't do that all the time, but you can do like 1 page a day. As you get older, it gets harder because you're distracted. You have to work. You have to take care of your family. You have a lot of different things on your mind. It's not impossible, but it's much harder.
Yeah.
But if you allocate a certain number of hours, of course, it's possible.
Yeah.
But when you're younger, you have a lot of energy, that you can use towards knowledge, education, and learning the Quran, memorization. So in a nutshell, just to kind of wrap what you just mentioned, what we're trying to bring here to Mount House and beyond, because people come here from Manteca, Livermore, Tracy, Mount House, and surrounding areas, is because of the Islamic school. And we just had somebody visit yesterday. They were checking it out because they want to move here from, I think, Dublin, I think they were at. I forgot which city. But they're looking around to make that judgment call so they can come. And they were very pleased with it. So I think they may move here as well. So we are attracting people that, it's like a niche, like when you have a niche product or a niche service that people want, like if they want Quran and academics, they'll come here because other places don't offer it. Or they want Islamic school and the other ones have too much of a wait list and they don't want to wait 2-3 years for it. They'll come here because we are accepting students.
Yeah. So how would you say overall your experience with Islamophobia shaped your efforts towards building like Zaytech Academy, and how does this like reflect more so like the broader societal issues which you feel are being faced by Muslims in America? Yeah,
so this one I'm going to answer in because of my upbringing. So some people may watch this and go, why did he say that? So my personal honest opinion, I think we Muslims caused it because we're not good ambassadors of the faith. We confuse people. Of course, the media kind of took that and hyped it up to the next level, right? So they took us and said, oh, look at them, and then they just played on that. So we didn't do a good job in the beginning, as much as we could have done a better job. So partly it's our fault because we were not inviting other people. We were not communicating with them. We're not telling them who we are. Like I can ask many Muslims, I'm like, did you ever tell your neighbor about Islam? And most of them will say no. I'm pretty sure they'll say that because I know people, I ask them, like, did you ever give a copy of the Quran to your neighbor? Like, no, why would I do that? Why don't you? Because if you don't, especially if you're a neighbor, at least tell them who you are, at least let them know as much as you can, if not, just say a kind word or just mention like, hey, I'm Muslim and I believe in this and this is what we are about, at least they know. So I think we played a role in it because we were reactive instead of proactive, right? So really take the education part seriously. We built a lot of masjids, which is great. I think 2,000 or so. I think it's 2,500 or now. But we built a lot of it. But in terms of Islamic schools or colleges, universities, we did not. We haven't gotten there yet. So that's the next phase, inshallah. But we give a lot of credit to the first generation. We give them a lot of credit because it's very hard when you come to America. And you have to learn a new language. You have to settle in. You have to figure stuff out. It's not easy, and so we give a lot of credit to them. But at the same time, we should have done a little bit more. I think, in my view, because we should be, we should have more. Because back in, most of civilization, we had a lot of institutions.
Yeah, and forgetting which part, but. There are a lot of scholars in various parts of Africa who are Muslims, and Muslim scholars specifically, they have a specific name which they will call these scholars. The name is blanking out of my head, but the emphasis in education within Islam is very heavy. And although, in America that's something we're still growing upon, the Muslim countries which we know of right now and which there were back in the day, they always had a very high emphasis. And I want to tie this back into your experience of Islamophobia within the United States. I also want to say one more thing in terms of the fact that it's more so the experience of us Muslims of dealing with Islamophobia issues is more so because of our own disregard for sharing the message of Islam. Something to kind of counteract that, but also explain what the U.S. population thinks about Muslims, is that there is a Lodi Pakistani man back in 2000. I was just checking, so we were learning about this in class. A guy named Hamid Hayat. He was sentenced to 24 years in prison in connection to terrorism charges. But basically, what was happening was that there was basically like a spy from the FBI who was patrolling the nearby masjids within the Lodi area, and he found that there's this Pakistani teenager actually back in 2003 2004 who was relatively like an easy target. So what happened was that he would go ahead and try to promote this Pakistani teenager to engage with like jihadist movements in Pakistan. And one time I think him and like the Pakistani man Hamid and his family did move to Pakistan for like 6 months, and then when he came back to America, he was immediately taken into custody and then was interviewed for multiple hours, and the FBI agents were just trying to get something out of him in order to prove that he was related to a terrorist organization. And this was taken to court a couple years later, where there were actual villagers from Pakistan who were live webcasting themselves to the court to explain to them as witnesses that Hamid never went anywhere, and he was only just like playing cricket or just like watching or like playing video games and whatnot. He never really participated in these like so-called like terrorism camps, which the FBI was accusing him of.
Yeah.
And it came out to be that the FBI was just trying to make up some plot and just try to target these teenagers who don't know much about their own, I guess, religion, which also brings up your idea, but also just making Muslims easy targets and then spreading that across and showing that,
Yeah. What year was that again?
This was around 2003, 2004.
Yeah, 2003, after 9/11. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like any agency, there's always some people that don't have, they're not every agency, whether it's, I guess you can call organization, FBI, any place, there's always some people that are not good, right? They may have ulterior motives. So, and what they're doing is not right, obviously, trying to, find something that's not true and trying to make it appear that's how all Muslims are. So there's probably some kind of hidden agenda behind that. But for the most part, the police, they're very good people. I don't know too much about the FBI, but I know a friend, I know somebody's FBI, he's a really good person, right? So just because some of them do that doesn't mean all of FBI is bad. So in general, police officers, the vast majority of them are good. From my experience, they do their job, they do it well. They have stress, they have family issues, they have their own problems they have to deal with, right? They're trying to do things, but at the same time, there's some that have tendencies that don't align with a police officer and what they represent. So we can't say all of them are bad. But in that case, I don't agree with that stance or what the FBI did to try to do those things. And I'm sure there's many other cases that probably happened during that time. And whoever was a Bush president at that time, George Bush, the second.
I believe so.
Yeah. So if he was, maybe that was something his cabinet was trying to. I guess the Iraq War was happening, so trying to make the Muslims look bad. So they had an agenda behind it all. I don't know exactly too much of the details with that, but obviously that's definitely wrong to do that. One way to combat ignorance, in my opinion, is to tell people, who you are before they tell you who you are, right? So if you don't say anything and you keep quiet and then you just keep a closed door, and they're going to try to explain to people who you are, but they have the wrong information. But if you tell them who you are before they can say it, you're much safer that way. So I think being proactive rather than reactive is a good strategy to play. I think what's his name? There's a guy he translated, Thomas Cleary. He says Americans can't think about Islam. something along those lines. Meaning, like it's like too many layers to think about Islam. It's like they're already first they're already confused by it from the media, and so they're already having that thinking challenge. And then on top of that, they can't think of it because of that, right? So it's like two barriers to uncloak to really understand the Islam and the way of life, and that it was a revealed religion.
Yeah, but yeah, so more so we can, say that Islamophobia is something which we all are somewhat experiencing in
Oh yeah,
not just in Mount House, but like overall throughout
oh yeah.
California.
I mean,
in the
it's all
United
about the
States.
person too, right? Like, like I met this one guy, and he never met a Muslim in his life. He was the first person that he met that he told me that I was a Muslim, because I was just talking to him about something unrelated, and he pushed back really hard because I told him, about what do you think about Muslims building something in this area? And he's like, I don't want that here. And I said, why not? He said, haven't you watched Fox News?
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, but have you watched the other channels too? So I just stopped the conversation because I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. But what I did was I talked about family, because that's the people, everybody has a family, Muslims, non-Muslims. I talked about how his kids were doing, how his family was doing, and he talked about his kid, that his kid graduated school and they're going here and there. And it was just a regular talk. And then he just completely changed after the next 2-3 conversations. Now we're like good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And he donated some stuff to the school, right? So you can change people, right?
Yes.
I'm non-Muslim. So he's like, so you can do, people they're given the wrong information. You can't blame them. That's why when I see people that say those things, I don't get mad. I just see his compassion. I just see like, oh man, I felt bad. Like this guy was given the wrong advice. It's, that's all I see. I just see somebody that was told something that's not true. That's all I see. I don't see that guy as like hating Muslims. I just see a guy that was misinformed. That's all I see. But unfortunately, the vast majority of people that I know, oh, that guy, he hates Muslims. I'm like, no, I don't think he hates Muslims, because he hates Muslims based on what he saw on Fox News, not based on the actual Muslim, what they stand for.
Yeah, the active portrayal of Muslims in this country is very biased.
And the stuff he shared with me is like all the stuff. It's funny because when I went to visit him second time, one of the family members had a shirt on there. I said, "God is great."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know what that means in our religion. Like if I say it right now, people watching, they're like, "What are you talking about? Don't say that word."
Yeah.
Allahu Akbar. That means God is great, and they're wearing that shirt. It's just language barrier, right?
Yeah.
So it's like God. I told him, I said, that you know what that means?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "What does that mean?" Because when he hears that on Fox News, he's like, "Oh my gosh, what are they saying that for?" I'm like, "You're wearing the shirt."
Exactly.
Language, it can cause confusion amongst people, but it's so fascinating talking about this stuff, because you can go on forever. It's amazing, just Muslims and non-Muslims, and I don't really when I see a non-Muslims, I just see him as a potential. Muslim one day, or potential somebody, even not even becoming a potential Muslim, somebody that's potentially going to believe in God.
Yes.
As long as take that step, at least it's better than not believing in God, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's better to believe something created something, right? And some of the theories we're being taught is what's confusing people. Let me give you one example. When I was in Las Positas College, I was my freshman year there. So I was, when you're a freshman, you're learning about so much stuff, and you're like thrown into this like school with philosophy courses and all this stuff. You're already confused to begin with, because, I did not have the, solid understanding of the deen. So, but I believed in one God, obviously. I knew what I was told so far. My English teacher, was teaching a book called The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. And I'm like, what? This is not an English book. I was like, why is he teaching us this book? Why do we have to read this in class? And when I was in class, the kids were like just joking around, throwing paper airplanes, right? When you're making fun of God in class, reading a book about God and how he doesn't exist and just poking holes in him, right? How's the kid's going to behave, right? You're going to make a class full of chaos, right? So I'm sitting there, and I asked him one day, I said, teacher, I wanted to just understand out of all the books that you could have chosen, why did you choose this book?
So for those who don't know, like I think the God Delusion is like an atheist type of
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
Like there's no.
Yeah, so so I asked him. I said, of all the books you could have taught English, like especially a freshman,
Mhm.
like why did you choose this book? He said, well, if you could prove to me that God exists, I won't choose this book.
Wow.
That's what he told me. I was like, what? So basically, you're because you have this. How do you word it? Bias or whatever you want to say. He's trying to push his views on the students because he just can't fathom that there's a God that exists. So he's teaching the book. I'm like, to me, I thought it was very unfair for the students
It
because
is,
being
yeah.
that young, naive, they're trying to come into the world and figure things out, and then at least choose something very neutral. Why you have to choose that book?
Yeah,
You know?
like when it comes to dawah, we don't go ahead and like push to them about
Yeah,
our main beliefs of Islam. We try to connect it to them with like the real world which they have already been living in for multiple years, right? This is
Yeah.
like the world they know about.
yeah,
So if we can connect Islam with what they see and portray every day, then it makes it much more easier for them to logically make that connection that yes, there is a God, there's Islam, and the teachings of Islam is the only teachings which are true,
yeah,
right? So like you're saying, your professor, he did not make that relation or connection. He was relying on the book to
yeah.
more so have the book's author, Richard over here, just portray all the facts and the meanings of what he wants to say to
Yeah.
like these students who don't know
Yeah,
anything
and people
about.
remember people that are atheists. They actually think about God more than some Muslims do because it's bothering them. Because here's why: because they don't understand why kids get cancer, why babies are dying, why people are killing each other, why there's so much corruption and crime in the world, right? And this is the same question that angels ask in the Quran: are you going to create human beings that are going to create spill blood and create mischief while we praise and glorify you? And God says, I know that which you do not know, right? That question answers the atheist question, because a lot of them are confused why there's so much crime in the world. Jeffrey Lang mentioned that was his main concern, one of his main concerns why he didn't believe in God, because there was like all this stuff happening. And you read that verse from the angels. He's like, if the angels are asking that question, I could ask that question too then. He's basically the angels are answering. God obviously put that question in the angels.
Yeah, the
So we
situation
know, yeah.
arised for us to also take into
Yeah,
account.
yeah, yeah.
right?
So he became Muslim because after you read that one, that was like a very powerful verse for him. Even wrote a book on it. Even angels ask questions, right? So for the atheists that don't believe in God, even then we have to have compassion for, because, of course, when you see all this crime and corruption and hatred and fighting and all this stuff happening in the world, it makes you think there's no God, because where is he, right? Like, why is he not stopping it? But at the same time, he's given us the faculty of knowledge, imagination, reason, understanding to solve these challenges, right? Of course, we can't solve it 100%, but we try our best to minimize it as much as we can, right? Because there's demons and there's shayateens and there's evil people in the world. They're out there, right?
Yeah,
There's always going to be some evil
tribulations
people.
is what
Yeah.
makes this dunya, the dunya we are.
Yeah,
in,
yeah. And the world is a tribulation, right? The Quran mentions that we created you, and you think you can say you believe in God and you won't be tested. So we are going to be tested. So there are going to be these challenges, there are going to be problems in the world. And, we do our part as much as we can. And, and if we fall short, like I mentioned, you get up and you try again, you get up and try again. But you don't give up, though. You don't despair, right? That's what Shaitan wants. He wants you to despair and say, oh, there's no God. Don't do anything. It's not going to work. No, you struggle. You give a lot of effort. You're right. You make your arguments. You tell people why they're wrong. You do in a hikmah with knowledge, wisdom, with compassion. You don't yell at people and say you're doing this and that. Of course, I'm not saying, yelling. When I mention yelling, is like where it has the opposite effect, right? You yell at somebody and they associate that with like the faith, They think that's like, so you don't want to do it in a way where it makes you look bad or the religion look bad, right? So you want to do it in a professional way that doesn't make you look bad. Let me give you one example. When the Prophet Muhammad SAW came back to Mecca, after all the stuff that happened to him, he could have came back with anger and rage and revenge, but he didn't. He came back and he had his head bowed, right? And he came back to Mecca. So that that is the type of people we should be, right? We shouldn't be like, if we get victory, we shouldn't be like, revenge time. No, we just come back and we come in humility.
Yes,
Because
there's
ultimately,
no,
ultimately, it's God that gives you victory. Like, let me give you an example. One of the strategies of Salahuddin Ayyubi was that before he would go into battle, he would feed all the poor people. Because God mentions, there's a hadith, I think, that mentions that he gives victory by the weakest amongst you, right? So he would feed all the poor people, and then he would go in battle.
yeah,
Because ultimately, it's God that gives you victory, right?
yes,
Right? It's we try our best, and if God gives it to us, it's from Him. And if He doesn't, He doesn't. But
what's
ultimately,
best for us will come to us.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you do your best, though. You have to, like, obviously, you have to have strategy. You have to prepare. You have to have knowledge. You have to have education. You have to have, you have to have defense, right? You have to do all the things you can do to do it. You can't just, of course, there's sometimes we see prophets being protected by God. Obviously, Prophet Muhammad had many assassination attempts against him, but Allah protected him, right?
Yes.
So Allah can do what He wills, So there's things in the world that does not make sense now. That's for sure. There's things that I cannot grasp, and I'm sure many scholars have tried to grasp. And again, I'm not a scholar, but the Quran mentions that on the Day of Judgment, He'll explain it all to us. It will all make sense. So for now, we just have to be patient and just kind of put up with some of the, crazy stuff that happens. Just kind of like be patient and just have trust in God that there's something going to happen out of it, right? This Gaza thing that's happening, there's a lot of people becoming Muslim because of it, right?
Yeah.
So on the one side, it's horrific. It's like hurts you every day watching it. It's like horrible. It aches your heart, and then you see this people coming from the other side and advocating for them becoming Muslims, and so it's interesting to see this two things happening at the same time. So. There's what can you do? My thing is, just help as much as you can, give people knowledge, educate them. Muslims should have more news stations, should have their own TV stations, should be able to report the news themselves, do it in a professional way, do it in a kind manner. If they are harsh with you, be kind to them. If they're, like the Quran mentions, if somebody does evil to you, do nice to them, because when you repel harshness with kindness, it creates like a bond of like it brings the hearts together. But if you repel evil with evil, it just becomes evil again. So you have to be kind, and it's not easy. It's very, very hard. These things that I'm telling you is very hard. But whoever practices it, whether they're Christian or Muslim or Jew, like Nelson Mandela, he practiced it. He was locked in jail for 20 years? And guess what happened when he came out? He forgave all the people. And he unknowingly practiced the sunnah.
Yeah.
The sunnah is that. That's what the sunnah is. So it doesn't matter if the Christians do it, the Jews do it, the Hindus do it, the non-Muslims do it. They could be unknowingly practicing the sunnah, which is forgiving people, right? In every religion, the forgiveness is a powerful thing. We all know that forgiveness is powerful, but it's hard. It's very, very hard. But if you do it, and if you can't do it, you should ask Allah for helping you to ask for forgiveness, because it's very hard to forgive. It's very hard. There was a lady I heard on the news, something happened to her child. Somebody did something to her, and she forgave that guy,
Yeah, there are multiple accounts of Muslim people who are forgiving others in our current society.
Yeah.
About, I think, one person killed a father's son, and the father in court forgave the person who was on trial. Yeah,
and this world is very stressful. It's very painful. It's very hard. There's all kinds of challenges. So I always try to. One thing that keeps me going from time to time is the way I look at it is that let's just say you live 100 years. Okay, you take 100 years divided by infinity, it's zero, right? Divided by infinity is zero. So it's so people that are causing all this corruption in the world. Let's just say they're like, where they get happy because of doing all this evil. They live 90 years. And you take that by the next world, which is infinity, you just wasted your life. You might as well just sit still and just stay at home. Don't do anything bad. At least you'll get a better chance of going to heaven than using that energy and doing bad, right? Right? It's better to at least, because because you're purposely causing problems, right? At least use that 80 years of life and just stay home, don't do evil, right? At least you have a better chance of making it to heaven. But if you're causing corruption and harm and evil and killing people and messing up their lives, their family, their finances, then you're not going to have a good outcome, right? The Quran, I mean, describes people of hell. They're like arrogant, they're oppressors, they have bad character, they're mocking people, they have all these like qualities that we hate, the average person hates. Even people that complain, even complainers hate complainers, right? They don't like each other.
Some people are just blind to
Yeah.
to the truth, right? So some people are in their eyes, they think that they're the right person, right? So and that's the problem. Like they think that they are doing what is right for themselves, but so yeah, it's just the fact that some people are blind to the truth.
Yeah. But one thing we should remember, there's one scholar mentioned this to me, is the rulers. People don't know how much effect the rulers have over us. We should pray for them, right? There's a guy, he went to Hajj, and he was looking, there's an app on the phone called Decibel Reader. It kind of goes up and down.
Yes.
So I think I mentioned this in another talk, and the imam would say, "Oh God, forgive us." And people would say, "Ameen," really loud, and decibel will go off the charts. "Oh God, forgive our parents, forgive our, Ameen. Oh Allah, give us increased sustenance. Ameen. Oh Allah, grant our children, knowledge, education. Ameen." Anything, Ameen, really high. And then when they would get to the part, "Oh Allah, guide the rulers," Ameen, right? And that is very important because you want the rulers to be guided, but somehow they have this like hatred for their rulers. Obviously, God put them over us for a reason, right? There's a book, I forgot what it's called, I can't come to mind, but he wrote a book and he mentioned the reason why we get certain rulers is because of reflection of ourselves, right? Right now, in what we're living in right now, people are Instagram, Facebook, they're like narcissistic in a way, and they're sometimes they're obnoxious, sometimes there's harsh, cruel, but they want to do the right thing, So we got Trump, right? It's a reflection of us, right?
Right. It's a reflection of what the media can portray to us.
Yeah, basically, I think God gives us like who we are in like, again, I don't want to speak on behalf of God. Whenever I say these words, just take it lightly. Basically, the way I see it, like in the Muslim countries, sometimes you get some rulers that are very like dictators. That's probably the average household, right? It could be that because that's how they're treating their family. So God gave them to them, like learn, look, you're like that, don't be like that, And sometimes we get people in this country that are reflecting overall, pattern of behavior. So, there's a book that somebody wrote, which is very fascinating. It made me look at things a little bit differently because, if we change, the rulers change. If we change, the outcome changes. But everybody wants that person to change,
but not themselves.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. If you change yourself, if everybody just stopped right now in the world and just said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to change myself." Just don't even change your friend. Just change yourself, and the world will be so much better. Everybody just change yourself. There should be a day called "Change Yourself" for one day. Just be good for one day. Don't tell anybody else you're going to change them. Just change yourself. And then see how things work, and then you'll see like, oh, there's the answer. It's us. We're like, no, if Trump becomes president, then the world will change. No, if Biden becomes president, then everything will change. But they don't realize it's like ultimately it's themselves, and then that's like the most powerful place to start is yourself because everything starts here, and then outwardly it resonates to the everywhere else. Yeah. But people don't want to change. It's not easy because there's a guy that. He said he fought his nafs for 50 years before he could finally control it, right? Because our lower selves is always up to no good. Is always trying to be lazy, be complacent, be angry, be jealous, have hatred, have bad thoughts and all that stuff. So it takes time, But if we practice it, we all struggle. So I struggle with it. I try to, every day I try to renew and again try, renew, and I fall short and I try. I renew, I fall short, I try. And I may fall short 2 days in a row and I try again, right? It's constant, it's hard.
Islam is all about being uncomfortable, and it's shown throughout the lives of all our prophets. And the fact that we live in America right now, so Sheikh Alauddin al-Bakri was actually talking about this this past Thursday about how the current country we live in prioritizes being comfortable. You want something with a click of a button and it comes to you.
Oh yeah,
And
that's paradise.
yeah. And that's not what Islam tries to make us feel like, right? We always would be in this uncomfortable situation because we're striving something
Yeah.
more than just this world. You know,
Yeah.
we're striving something in the hereafter, and so that's going to require us being uncomfortable right now, so that way we can be comfortable later on.
Yeah. There's a hadith that mentions that for the believer, this world is like a prison. It's like a giant prison,
Yeah.
right? You know, so it's hard. I'm not saying that you should feel depressed, sad. You should not feel that, obviously, but I'm just saying it's not meant to be comfortable, right? It's intended to break your heart, and that's how iman or faith enters people's hearts. Once your heart gets broken, now God's light can enter it, right? Some people that get their hearts broken, they actually that's why they have, like, I think they call them born again Christians, right? Even Muslims that convert is because I'm sure in one point of their lives they got their heart broken and they started thinking about deeply, like, what is going on. And God did that for a reason, right? He did it so he can make you contemplate, right? And then at that time, light entered, right? Because if your heart's not broken, the light is harder to enter. Yeah, so there's things that we don't understand, but if you go to the psychologist, okay, you got to take this and this and that. No, that's right there, because they don't understand. There's a different worldview. There's a different reality. You look at it. One scholar was telling me that when you would go to the Muslim world, they were looking for doctors. So, but they felt like he was a doctor because he was Western. So he would come up to him and say, hey, my leg hurt, but I'm not complaining. My kidneys hurt here, but I'm not complaining, right? Because they're just trying to say, like, I'm still grateful, but I'm just telling you what the pain is. It was such a brilliant way of saying it, right? Trying to keep both sides, keep both perspectives, because they knew that was Allah mentions to be grateful, right? Because there's so many bounties that we have. Like, if you lose one leg, you could have lost both legs. If you lose one eye, you could have lost both eyes. If you're, whatever calamity, tribulation you have, and unfortunately, I'm not saying it's easy, but it could have been much worse. There's a guy, I forgot his name, I think Aristotle Onassis or something like that. He lost the ability for his eyelashes to go up and down, and so dust would get in it, and that's very painful, right? Because your eyelashes serves a huge purpose. So somebody asked him, he said, what would you give for dust to not go in your eyes, or for your eyelashes to work again? Because he would hold it up with some kind of tape, because he would go down all the time. He said, I'll give half my kingdom. And then later on, he said, I'll give I think he said, I'll give all my kingdom just for these eyelashes to work, right? And and we don't even think about it, right? It's just constantly working.
Yeah, we're always blinking.
Yeah, right now, the whole time I talk to you, I didn't even know my eyelashes was working.
Yeah.
And this whole time I was talking to you, I didn't even know my heart was pumping blood. I didn't even, it's not like there's no batteries hooked up to me. Like, there's nothing I did. Like, you have to charge the car every day, right?
Yeah.
It's like no charging needed. It's just working. It's just amazing, right? So there's a lot of blessings that we forget to think about. And we all fall short, These statements I'm making right now, I'm human. I make mistakes, I try to become a better person day after day. I may say words that, I may regret later, but that's part of the journey, is like you try to become better, and you just work at it, you make a mistake, and if you think you did wrong, you ask for the person's forgiveness. And and the other person should also not be like, be somebody that walks on eggshells either, right? Because those people are very hard to talk to, because they're like, oh, you said this one thing. I'm like, oh, I did, or you did, right? You have to, give people benefit of the doubt, right? You also have to give people a good opinion, right? You can't be harsh with people either. Alhamdulillah, that was a beautiful talk, beautiful conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Just
Jazakallah
to wrap up everything which we just talked about, and to bring it more towards our local community, and like the reason why I'm interviewing you is like about your background, about where you're coming from, about where we are right now, which is specifically this city called Mountain House. How would you say Zaytech Academy is contributing to fostering both religious identity and also civic engagement within the Muslim community?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. So one thing we do here is we offer we have an open door policy. People can come in and visit us anytime. Of course, if I would preferably they should call us first so we can show them around. So there's no like they can't come. Anybody other faiths could come and visit us, watch us, observe us, talk to us, get to know us. This area that we're talking in, we had the mayor hold a discussion here when they're running for mayor, when they're running for the board for council, and the school district was running here as well. So we opened the area, the space for the community to take to utilize as well. So we try to work with the community, and sometimes they have recordings here. People don't even know that they're in this area, So we try to work with the community, work with the local people here, people that are running for different positions. We try to talk to them, get to know them as much as we can, But then the school keeps you busy sometimes, so you kind of may not always communicate with them. But it's a good thing to stay active in that approach, because they're running the town, and they're making big decisions, So we want to make sure those decisions also kind of aligns in a way with our vision too, vision that we want to bring to the community.
And also, what would you say about? I know somewhat like the answer to this, but I wanted to like ask you in terms of the mission of this interview. But like, what do you think is like this oral history interview? But what do you think are some things which Zaytech Academy is doing for the benefit of the Muslim community specifically?
Yeah, so we offer 5 daily prayers here. Actually, 4 daily prayers here, because during Dhuhr time there's a school. So the community, right now you saw that brothers and sisters come in and pray Isha prayer. So Fajr, we have Fajr prayer here. All the prayers except for Dhuhr. We have Saturday pancake event, Saturday breakfast after Fajr. We have many, many events. We just had one yesterday, which was actually a fundraiser. We have scholars visiting here, giving talks. We had a talk on technology, and it could be even the non-Muslims are welcome to join if they want to.
Yeah.
So we had a talk on that. We have various different talks. We had a talk on Buddha in the Quran, right? Very controversial subject, but to me, I think I like a little bit of uncomfortableness, just make people think, just to kind of get out of the comfort zone, because it could be a possibility, it could not be. But hey, listen to it. Sometimes people get too comfortable with what they think they know, and we're also guilty of it, right? Because the Quran mentions how the previous religions, they basically kind of like wasn't open-minded, right? They got closed-minded, and we don't want to be closed-minded because that's not good. Once you become closed-minded, and then it's
gonna be really hard to bring other people in.
Yeah. I mean here.
More so like into the religion of Islam.
Oh, to the religion, yeah. So what I do is I'm not the type that forces religion on people or tells them but I just explain to them if I hear any kind of sign they want to learn about it. So first I just talk with them like I would talk to you or talk to anybody else. Maybe over food, dinner, lunch, business, whatever. And eventually, if they ask me like what are we doing here, I'll tell them we're Islamic school. We believe that there's a creator. Obviously they know that. And then where it gets tricky for them is, the last prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't know too much about him. That's a challenging part where you have to explain that he came after Jesus or Isa alayhi salam. So that's the difficult part where that's the disconnect. But most of the other stuff they believe, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, all the other stuff they believe, like the Jews, they believe they believe in Abraham and all the previous prophets, Noah alayhi salam, all of them, but they don't believe in Jesus. While the Christians believe in Jesus and all that. So then we believe in. So it's like a next step, But then of course the Jehovah Witness or the Mormons can say the same thing to us. They can say, well, you guys believe in Prophet Muhammad, but you don't believe in Joseph Smith, right? Because they say I think some of them, they claim he's a prophet too. So it is an argument they're making as well, but they don't believe in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So which is difficult for us to. So at least we believe, the prophets came in that order. So so the fact is to be open-minded, because it's to me, I'm always looking for ways. If somebody tells me something that helps me understand the world better and connects some dots that are missing, like who is the Buddha, how does he fit into Islam? How did this guy have such a huge impact and create people that are so gentle? Right? Buddhists are, of all the religions, if you look at it from number one to the last, I think Buddhists has the fewest like casualties, like fighting, you know, because they're very they're
Buddhists usually are known for,
they're not
if I'm not wrong,
they're not confrontational. Yeah, from what I read, you know, that's so I'm like, who made these people? So it could obviously to me it has to be a prophet, you know. That's just my opinion. I'm not a scholar, by the way. I just see as like somebody came and created this and taught something and all these teachings, right? And created peoples that are amazing. You know, you could talk to them because I know people that are Buddhists and they're very humble, nice people, right? Somebody came and told them something, right? And it passed down to them and they're holding on to it. So just like the Christians, they're really good Christians. And there's some Christians that are so good and their character is actually better than some Muslims, right? So it's, you know, that's why it's really tricky because you can have a Christian that has really good character, and you can have a Muslim that has bad character, and then the Christian is looking for maybe confusion within his faith, but then he sees the Muslim bad character and doesn't accept it because he's unfortunately not supposed to judge a religion by a person, which is a big problem we have amongst all religions is they will judge a religion based on the people instead of judging the religion by the religion, you know, by take the truth and then you see like who's following it. People go, here's the people, and they judge it by, you know, the other way. Yeah. So anyhow, we should be very careful in our behavior because one wrong move, one wrong stare, one wrong angry look, can make somebody that is looking for a religion or for faith or God, you know, go to not find it. And to end with that, there's a man, he was attempting to, I guess, jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. And he said, if somebody smiles at me on the way there or says hi to me, I won't jump. And he kept walking, and nobody smiled at him. Nobody looked at him. Nobody asked him how he was doing. So he jumped, you know. But then somehow he miraculously survived. He landed on a seal or something. So the seal kind of pushed him back to shore. So you can see like people are looking, you know, and nobody smiled at him. Nobody like talked to him. Nobody like greeted him. And he just felt like nobody cared, right? Yeah. So we should be caring for people, and we shouldn't wait till they're Muslim to care. Just care for humanity. I think that's something that I just wanted to mention as well. Alhamdulillah, what a great conversation. I told another person that wanted to interview me, I told him, are you sure? Because I tend to go off tangent. Alhamdulillah. So,
alhamdulillah, it was great talking to you.
Yeah, jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.